Hoi hoi folks, good morning, good afternoon and good evening wherever you are in the world. My name's Sean, aka Uncle Frogface, and welcome to today's video. If you're new here, then welcome. If you're not new, then welcome back. We are today tackling the second part of our September Scrawler box. So we're actually going to use the supplies today. We unboxed them last time, and if you'll remember, we got our Molotow paint pens, paint markers, and we've got our velum pen, our pink pen, and our white jelly roller as well. So these are our supplies for this time. And if you'll remember, our Scrawler prompt for this month's ScrawlrChallenge is digital dystopia. So two words that kind of was running around my mind how I was going to fit those two together. Took a little bit of inspiration from the artwork for this month as well. The first thing that came to my mind was kind of virtual reality, and once I kind of latched onto that for the digital part, I was thinking about dystopia. Dystopia is kind of that despotic ruler, you know, things that are kind of deprived and running down and broken down. And I thought of the film, it's the 90s, so it's like 96 I think, The Lawnmower Man. So based very loosely, I think it's name only, on Stephen King's short story. We'll go a bit more into detail on that in the actual video. But I thought to myself, I'd update the cover for that film. So it's very 90s, it's very retro, but I'm going to kind of tackle it in a different style today. And I think that kind of fits the brief really well, and taking some inspiration from this as well to get that done. So without further ado, I'm going to turn the camera around, I'm going to make myself a fresh cup of tea, I'm going to settle in, and I'm going to spend a bit of time working on this piece. Okay, so first things first, let's get everything out of the box. I'll pop this to one side. There we go. And I still, as you can see, have not opened these boards. So this is our surface to work on this month. Oh, I love having a bin in my office now. So these look to be smooth on one side, slightly textured on the other. So you have a little bit of a feel of one of the pressed watercolour papers. Which one is it? Is it cold or hot press that's smooth? I can never remember. But the smooth one, that's kind of what it feels like. A little bit like Bristol board as well, actually. These are very, very thick. So, for my idea, I'm going to have to sketch something out. So I've got my Blackwing Scrawler Box pencil. That might need a bit of a sharpen, actually. But I think it'll be okay. But I need to sketch a little element out because I'm going to be filling in the background except for one thing, which is going to go about here. So I'm going to get on with that. I've also needed a stencil for something circular for down here. So I've got my trusty old IKEA glass. But yeah, I think with this one, I'm just going to have to jump straight in. So I'm going to start sketching, and then I'm going to fill in the background. And I've got kind of an idea for doing a gradient through the colours that we have with the Molotow pens. So hopefully that will come together. I might have to do layers and let them dry. But let's see how we go. Okay, so as I said, there was a certain element in here that I wanted to keep blank. And that's really because I didn't fancy scribbling the white Signo pen over the paint. And I wasn't quite sure how that was going to go either. So I thought best to, be safe and leave this as a white section. And as you can see, hopefully, this is an eye. And the reason I've done that is I'm really paying homage to the original movie poster for Lawnmower Man. So if you haven't seen the film, I'm not sure whether I would recommend it or not. I remember watching it when I was, a young teenager, so back in the 90s. And I think it's a 1992 film. It's Pierce Brosnan, pre-James Bond, and Jeff Fahey. And it's like a virtual reality version of Children of the Damned, or Carrie. It's got a very Midwich Cuckoo type vibe to it, which obviously is what Children of the Damned was based on. But I digress. It was it was interesting at the time, and then going back as an adult and rewatching it, it really is just, it's very 90s-tastic, I think is the only word to describe it. And because of the kind of the distance in the source material and the actual film, Stephen King hated it, really hated it, and I think actually tried to take the production company and I think it might be New Line Cinema. I might have to put up cards for that, so yeah, it actually was. But whoever the film company were, Stephen King wanted to take them to court because he was. I mean, and actually, I agree. The original story is just a few pages long. I think it was in Nightmares and Dreamscapes, if I'm not mistaken, and it's. The only similarity between the film and the book is the fact that there is a man with a lawnmower. I think that is literally the only similarity. So in the original movie poster, as I say, it's very 90s, and it has this kind of soft gradient, which I'm kind of changing here, and I wanted to change it to replicate that sky and grass colour, but also to update it a little bit and give it a bit more of a modern take. And these pens, I really love. I was a bit unsure about paint markers before, and that's why I bought a set to review. But honestly, I am sold on them. So you can see in this one, they're still drying a little bit, and they're a little bit streaky. And actually, I think this might be my fault because obviously you have to pump the pens as you're going through, which I didn't do in the blue, and I really should have. But also, I think I may have been using the wrong side of this board. There were no instructions with it that I could see. And from talking to some of my friends in kind of Prompt Squad and things like that, it's the shinier side is the side that you use, not any side with any kind of texture on it, which is kind of, I feel a little bit counterintuitive for what I would usually use for acrylics, but that's fine. So what I'm doing here for the gradient, and I can't remember where I saw this idea before. It might have been in a children's book, but I'm just using kind of dashes of different sizes and different spaces to give a gradient between the colours. So I'm doing the green first, so the green bleeding into the black and the green bleeding into the blue. And then after that, I'll do the reverse. So I'll do the blue bleeding into the green, and I'll do the black bleeding into the green. And I think I could have gone even further with this. As always with the ScrawlrChallenge, there is a time element to it. And I've been terrible at kind of spending far too little time actually working on these pieces, which is something, you know, I am conscious of, and I do want to work on in the future to make sure I'm spending a little bit more time. And I did spend a little bit more time on this, but again, I feel like I could be spending even longer. Just to give you kind of a perspective, it's currently Friday the 10th of September. I actually made this piece and recorded the video the Monday before. Work has just been so hectic that I've not really had chance. You know, I get home in the evenings and the last thing I want to do is kind of create art. Well, I'd love to create art. I just don't have the energy to do it. So I'm kind of for the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be a little bit busy at work, and it means that the video's been a little bit delayed. But I'm definitely going to be making time, because art for me is something that relaxes me. You know, it's something to take myself out of my everyday routine and be a little bit creative. And so I think sometimes we can forget that. So that's definitely what I'm going to be doing in the next couple of weeks. So this is where that stencil part comes in. So we have that blank space at the top ready for our eye, and we have this circle element down the bottom. So in the movie, The Lawnmower Man, Jeff Fahey's character, whose name is Job, I believe, is kind of, I would say, a simple, simple-natured lawnmower guy who has been inducted into this science experiment to increase people's intelligence by use of virtual reality, and that's Pierce Brosnan is the doctor that's running the experiment, and it's been run before with chimps and hasn't gone exactly to plan, and obviously there's like military involvement and all that kind of thing, and you know the story is nothing groundbreaking, but it is a bit of fun. So in the VR state, he's in this I don't really know how to what it's called. I know it's actually got a name, but it's kind of like a gyroscopic, you know, the ring with another ring inside and another ring inside, and then you're suspended within that with virtual reality stuff on. It was, you know, it was the future in the 90s, and obviously now we have like the Oculus Rift and stuff, which has just made it all redundant. But that's what I wanted to do here, and for the circles, obviously I used my glass to get the outside circle and very roughly put it in, because I'm not looking for perfection here. I'm just looking for concept, and I'm doing another small one inside and then a smaller one inside of that as well. These paints layer on top of each other so nicely. So you can see with the black and the green and the blue and the green, once they dry, they're super matte, and then just drawing with them, they are an absolute dream to work with. I don't know if this is all paint markers because I don't have that experience yet, but I will definitely be trying other brands. The only paint markers I think I've tried before are kind of very cheap Winsor Newton ones from were they Winsor Newton? They were something, simply something, but they were from the pound shop, essentially B stock that had been returned. And they're alright, but these are so much better. And I've got a few ideas of things that I want to create with some paint markers as well, and try out some different techniques. But in terms of kind of quick paintings like this, where you want to layer really quickly, really nice. So I used my Blackwing pencil here just to sketch out a little figure in the middle. I used a reference of the Vitruvian Man for this, just to kind of have something in mind. I'm aware it looks a bit kind of religious symbology, but that's what Vitruvian Man is, and obviously the circles lend to that as well. This Zig Velum pen, you'll notice the difference in the kind of saturation of the black. So the black paint marker, the Molotow, super opaque. You know, it absolute coverage, really lovely. The writer for Velum, maybe it's because I was doing it over the top of the paint, but had a little bit of transparency to it. Didn't quite cover quite so darkly. That's not a bad thing. In this case, I think it separates the figure from the kind of apparatus that it's in, and that's absolutely fine. And it means that I can kind of draw over the top as well. But yeah, just a kind of a slight interest, it shows that, you know, not all black is black, not all white is white, not all blue is blue. There's always going to be slight variations in the tools that we're using. But I'm kind of happy where this is going. And I know with this, because I've used the Zig pens before, I need to let it dry before I do anything on top. Same with the paint as well. I want to make sure it's absolutely dry. So I'm coming up to the eye first. So I'll bounce between these two elements. I love drawing eyes. It's just one of those things that I will randomly doodle out, and this is very much a doodle style eye. You know, it's nothing amazing. It's just something nice and quick that I wanted to get down to get the impression of that. And on the original poster, there is the eye with the gyroscopic thing underneath, with the title above it. I was kind of going for kind of modern coffee book books. You know, you get like the modern copies of Jane Eyre or Jane Austen, and you've got the really kind of very graphic covers, and that's kind of what I was going for with this. So at least that's what I had in my head. You'll have to tell me at the end whether I pulled it off or not. So this is where I wanted to bring in some of the pink element. Some here, there'll be some on the figure as well. And really using the Zig pen, the pink pen, what brand was it? I've forgotten. I've got it here. Derwent, the Derwent pink line marker. And you know, a lot of my friends had similar colour, so the pink. One person got black, which wasn't even an option, so, you know, congratulations on that. And then this is the first time I'm really using the white, and actually the coverage is really nice. I've used the Signo before, and I've had kind of different successes, but this one was really good. A couple of small issues, so you can see the kind of square, because I wanted to go for a pixel light reflection in the eye. That square I end up going over a few times, because over the black, which I don't think had quite dried enough, it just turned a little bit grey. And all I'm doing here is just building in some details and some interest and some variation in the piece. And then I wanted something to link both the figure that's in the circle and the eye that's at the top. So I have these kind of wires that are coming out, and in my mind they're wires that are connecting the figure to the apparatus, but also it kind of reminds me of again, this was a really big thing in the 90s, but you had kind of the balls where you could put your hand on and the electricity would go to the edge, but you also had plates like that as well, so flat circles, and you'd have lightning going out from them, and they're always pink coloured. So I thought that's what I wanted to do with this. So I have this pink pen, and I'm going over the white, and I should have let this white dry more, because as you see, I'm pulling the pen away. I'm constantly having to take bits of white gel off the tip of the pen. It's fine. The pen's fine. I haven't ruined it or anything. It just needed cleaning off a little bit more regularly than I kind of expected. It was just pilling and pulling up, but actually a lighter touch worked much better. So if you go over it lightly, the ink flows much better. I want to put a bit of pink in some of those wires as well coming off the figure, and then just going to add a little bit more shading on the white areas just to break the figure up a little bit. So we've got that lovely big white virtual reality headset as well, and then just adding some wires again, just a little bit of silhouette work. So this is where I'm joining those two elements. So the kind of lightning-esque wires around the figure joining to this kind of lightning around the eye. I kind of got a little bit of 2001 Space Odyssey from this. I don't know why, because it doesn't remind me of anything particularly in the film. It's kind of in my head, that's where it was. So I took a moment, and lettering is not my strong point by any means, particularly not when I'm not spending much time on it. But I wanted to make sure the spacing was correct, so I took a piece of paper that was the same size, spaced out my letters, then drew them on in pencil, and then came over with the paint marker. And again, really, really nice. I just wanted to add a bit of variety, so I was kind of adding a bit of roughness to the top right edges of everything. And then I'm coming in afterwards with the white pen to add a almost like a shadow, like it's three-dimensional, on the bottom left edges. That hurt my brain slightly. I know what I meant, and it just kind of took me a moment to get there. But again, this is kind of it's that modern book cover style that I was kind of going for. I really enjoyed this. I kind of had an idea going in. I think this is the first time in a while that I think I've kind of got close to where that idea was leading me, and just had a bit of fun. It was quite a warm day when I filmed this as well, so I was absolutely sweating and I had the fan on. It was really nice just to sit back and enjoy this. And you can see there I'm going over those white squares again. And then as just a little final touch, I wanted to kind of ram home that computer digital idea. So I'm just doing strings of binary coming down like a little kind of background element. And there we are at the end, we are all finished, and we have our final piece, which I'm actually quite pleasantly surprised at. I don't know really what I was expecting from these acrylic markers, the acrylic paint pens. Like I said in the last video, I've actually ordered some that are a little bit cheaper than the Molotow ones, just because I wanted to give them a test. And I think I'm still going to do that because I've learned quite a lot about using the pens in this piece. Particularly kind of like layering, making sure you're pressing down to make the paint flow properly. Words, hard today, what's going on with me? But yeah, it kind of reminds me of more of a modern book cover, which I'm sure Stephen King would hate because he hated what was done with his short story for the actual Lawnmower Man film. But I think I might pop this back on the shelf over there somewhere. I can kind of sit up there. What do you think? Keep it in the background. But yes, I really hope you've enjoyed today's video. As always, I will see you next time. Goodbye.